Before there was money, the world was complete chaos. Imagine you're a farmer. You've grown 100 beautiful apples, and right now, you're starving for bread. So you find the baker. But the baker doesn't need apples today. He needs fish. So you run to the fisherman who needs shoes, the shoemaker who needs pots, the potter who needs bread. You're going in circles.
This was real life for thousands of years. Every single trade required both people to want exactly what the other had. Economists call it the double coincidence of wants. Regular people call it a nightmare.
So humans did what they always do when something is broken. They invented a solution. One small object that everyone agreed, and that changed everything. The first money wasn't gold. It wasn't even metal. In many parts of the world, people used cowrie shells, small, beautiful, and rare enough that not everyone could just pick them up anywhere. Until the king of Lydia came up with a brilliant shortcut. Around 600 BC, he started stamping standard pieces of metal with an official royal seal. The first true coins were born.
The solution came from Lydia, a kingdom in modern-day Turkey, around 600 BC. To guarantee their weight, the world's standardized coin was born.
But coins were heavy, really heavy. Chinese merchants carrying bags of bronze coins across entire provinces got tired of it. So around 700 AD, shells, metal, paper, cards, now invisible numbers on a screen. Money kept evolving, but one thing never changed because all of us agree it does. And that agreement? It's more
Germany, 1923. A mother hands her son a stack of paper money and sends him to buy a loaf of bread. Simple, right?
Except the price of bread had gone up since that morning. Not by a little. The baker had to change the price 3 times that day alone.
This was hyperinflation. Prices in Germany were doubling every few days. People needed wheelbarrows just to carry enough cash for groceries. Some literally burned money for heat. It was cheaper than firewood. By November 1923, one loaf of bread cost over 200 billion German marks. The currency wasn't just losing value, it was collapsing entirely.
This wasn't just numbers on paper. Real families watched their entire life savings become worthless in months. Grandparents who saved for 40 years had nothing left to retire on.
In America, there's an organization whose entire job is making sure what happened in Germany never happens here. It's called the Federal Reserve. A small group of economists meets 8 times a year in this building. Their decisions affect every paycheck, every loan, every price tag in the entire country. Think of it like a giant faucet. The Federal Reserve decides how much money flows into the economy. Too much and prices spike like Germany. Too little and the economy freezes up completely. When the Fed raises interest rates, your credit card debt gets more expensive. Your car loan costs more. Even your parents' mortgage payment can change. One dial, felt in every American household. That's why every time the Fed makes an announcement, the news goes crazy. One number, the interest rate, can speed up the entire economy or slow it down like a giant brake pedal. From one building in Washington, D.C. But here's what almost nobody learns in school. How do they actually decide what to do? That's exactly what we're covering next. So how does the Federal Reserve actually control the economy? They have 3 main tools. And once you understand them, you'll never look at the news the same way again.
Tool number 1, the interest rate. When the Fed raises rates, borrowing money gets expensive. People stop borrowing gets cheap. People speeds up. Simple as turning a dial. Tool number 2, money creation. The Fed can essentially create new money. Sounds amazing, right? But here's the catch. Chasing the same amount of goods means every dollar you already own becomes worth slightly less.
Think of it like a pizza. More people, everyone gets less. That's exactly what happens when the government prints too much money. Same amount of stuff in the stores, more dollars chasing it, prices go up forever. Tool number 3, open market operations. This is the sneaky one. The Fed buys and sells government bonds to pump money into banks or pull money out. Economy moves 3 tools: an interest rate dial, a money printer, and a bond market. But now the biggest question of all, what happens when even these tools aren't enough? The year is 2006. America is booming. House prices are rising every single month. Banks are handing out home loans to almost anyone who asks. Everyone believes the good times will never end. Banks were approving mortgages without properly checking if people could actually afford them. No job verification, no proper income checks, just sign here and the house is yours. They called these subprime loans. Then Wall Street did something genius. But it was catastrophically dangerous. They bundled thousands of these risky loans together. They stamped them as safe investments and sold them to banks all over the world, but nobody realized it yet. By 2007, millions of Americans couldn't make their mortgage payments. Houses that were supposed to keep rising in value started falling. People owed more on their homes than the homes were worth. Families lost everything. Because those risky loans had been sold to banks everywhere, the collapse spread like wildfire. Lehman Brothers, one of the biggest banks in the world, went bankrupt overnight. Stock markets crashed globally. The Federal Reserve slammed all three tools to maximum. Interest rates dropped to almost zero. They pumped trillions of dollars into the banking system. But it still wasn't enough. With interest rates already near zero and the economy still collapsing, the Fed invented something completely new. They called it quantitative easing. A name so complicated it was Quantitative easing meant the Fed created trillions of new dollars and used them to buy assets directly from banks, pumping cash straight into the financial system. Over the next 6 years, they inject. At the same time, the US government voted to bail out the failing banks with $700 billion of taxpayer money. The argument was simple: let these banks die and the entire economy dies.
Destroying 8 million jobs and wiping out trillions in savings. Not a single senior Wall Street of one mid-level trader received a brief sentence. To this day, economists still argue about was justice.
The economy eventually recovered. Stock markets hit record highs. But the same system that caused the crash was mostly left in place. New rules were added, guardrails improved. But after 2008, the government passed the Dodd-Frank Act. This was the biggest overhaul since the Great Depression. Banks had to hold more money in reserve. New agencies were created to stop predatory lending. But in 2018, some of those new rules were rolled back. Then COVID hit in 2020, and the Fed printed more money in 2 years. Interest rates shot up faster than any time since the 1980s. Here's the thing that bothers us most. Everything you just learned in the last 7 minutes, none of it is taught in most American schools. The history of money, how the Fed works, your student loan, your first credit card, your first apartment lease, your first investment. Every single one of these moments will go better if you understand how money actually works. You get there, not after.
The kids who learn this stuff early, how interest works, how inflation erodes savings, how the Fed influences their lives, every financial study confirms it.
And that is exactly why this channel exists. Every week, we take one money concept that adults wish they had learned as kids, and we explain it in a way you makes sense.